What's going on, FA Nation? Welcome to the Fantasy Zone DFS NBA live stream. John Impemba here with James Grande, previewing Tuesday's 5-game DFS NBA main slate. Slate starts at 7:30 tonight, James. We got that little extra half an hour that we're not used to having. Hopefully, we get some injury news before then because we are waiting on a couple of guys. How are you feeling about this 5-gamer?
It's a nice little 5-gamer. There are some big spreads for the 5 over 220. I mean, every time I look at Lakers Hawks, it just kind of seems to go up a half a point. We're up to 238.5. Lakers now 6.5 point favorites. I mean, 238.5 is no joke. Like that's a big total. I mean, and it's expected. We have 2 of the top 3 pace teams in the league, so there's going to be a lot of shots. But might as well just go down the rest of the Vegas list here. Orlando, New Orleans, another sneaky game. 225 total. New Orleans 4.5 point favorites at home. Boston, Philly 225.5. Philly now up to 7 point favorites at home. San Antonio, Memphis 209. That's the smallest number on the board. 6.5 point favorites for San Antonio on the road, and obviously that number gets larger if Mike Conley, in fact, sits. And then Utah, Golden State are late night hammers 228. Golden State only 8.5 point favorites at home. So I did look up earlier today. Utah is actually +4 this year against Golden State in 2 meetings. They won by 5 and lost by 1, but both were in Utah. So that is obviously something to note. We do have some injury news. Jonas Valanciunas, all his paperwork has cleared, I guess, and now he should be active tonight. But again, side with caution. He hasn't played since December 12th. LeBron James still listed as probable. Mike Conley, probably the biggest news we're waiting on, alongside Draymond Green. Both those guys are questionable. Conley is magically ill, as that seems to happen quite often. Rudy Gay is going to play. Tyson Chandler, Mike Muscala, both questionable, missed shoot around. So, I mean, JaVale McGee might be the only active center tonight. Rudy Gay is going to, I guess Mo Wagner, too, who's your boy, could also be active. Alfred Payton's going to test his injury out in pregame, see if he can go. Either way, don't want to play him. We know Kyrie Irving's out. Andre Iguodala is questionable, and Josh Hart also ruled out.
So we're getting some news as I'm sort of trolling through. Conley's been upgraded to probable. So I guess that's a good thing, maybe. I guess, possibly.
I mean, if you want to play that game, because it likely stays closer.
It's a bad thing for those looking for some value, like I may have been for Dylan Wright, because he could have probably started in his place. But some Twitter people are tweeting out that he's been upgraded to probable. We'll wait for the official word on that, but that ends up being the case. Kind of a little bit of a blow. Again, on a slate where there's not a ton of value on FanDuel, he would have been one of the guys. There's a lot of value at DraftKings. Talked about that on XM today. Whole bunch of guys that are in the mid 4Ks on FanDuel, all under $4,000 on DraftKings. So DK giving us some love there on the small slate with the Stars and Scrubs lineup. Stars and Scrubs absolutely burned us yesterday unless you played only Marquise Chris. Pretty much everybody else went for under 10 fantasy points, so that was kind of a rough go. But we'll turn the page, and before we break down position by position here, we know some of you play fantasy baseball. We also know Fantasy Alarm makes champions. To win, you need Jim Budden's Fantasy Baseball Draft Guide. You get Jim's rankings, sleepers, rookies, busts, and front office breakdowns for every team in the major leagues from the GM himself and Howard Bender, plus over 50 features from the Fantasy Alarm team. You want personal help? We have that too. You get experts in live chat, 12 hours a day to help you with all your personal questions about your draft and during the season. Get 50% off immediately at fantasylon.com/draft now. At checkout, if you use my name as the promo code Impemba, IMPEMBA, I believe there's a name tag somewhere around this area, for additional 25% off. That's fantasylon.com/draft now. Promo code Impemba, you get 25% off. You can also go Grande at checkout if you feel so inclined. Shorter letters, easier name to spell maybe. You get the same discount there, 25% off. So go check it out. Baseball season quickly arriving. Mock draft R&B starting to kick off. If you guys haven't been a part of that, check it out. Big collection of fantasy experts, we'll say, and give you the real experience of your draft. Talk strategy. Gotta check it out. Mock draft R&B run by Howard Bender is kicking off soon as well. But James, that's baseball. We're talking basketball here.
Yeah. So
let's start it off at point guard position. I really love this game. It's a late night hammer. You talked about it, how Utah's played them close. Now it is in Golden State, where it seems like Golden State's always playing. Steph Curry's at the top here. $9,100. Where's your interest here against him against Utah, averaging 50 DraftKings points in the 2 meetings against them this season?
I mean, I like the backcourt of Golden State more than I like their front court. Just because we get guys like Crowder, Favors when he's on the floor is a good defender. Rudy Gobert, we know, as we've noted that he hasn't been the best defender this year, but he's still an elite shot blocker. Ricky Rubio and Donovan Mitchell don't worry me as defenders, which obviously bodes well for Curry and Klay Thompson. So I think I'm fine with Curry. I'm honestly fine with him at this price tag for all formats. It's a really nice price. We don't get the Warriors under 10 much at home, and considering that this matchup has been a good one, we should see another close game here. I like Curry for all formats. You don't have to play him in cash. A lot of people probably lean into him in a tournament, but it's only a 5-game slate. So point guard's kind of slim, I would say. Maybe per dollar, the best play on the slate is Trae Young if you want to go that route. But so I think Curry's fine for all formats.
Yeah, I won't argue there. I made him obviously the cover image of the optimal lineups that are out there. Big fan of just his late night hammer, as we said. High game total, and again, he's had good success against them this season as it is. Below him, Ben Simmons against Boston. I'm not really in on that. Boston has defended Simmons pretty well. They just make him either pass or try to shoot from the perimeter. They close off the middle, typically pretty well against him. I don't know Kyrie Irving, so that's also kind of a downgrade for me here because this could be a blowout. Something's just sort of imploding from within. It seems to be sort of the young guys versus the old guard here. So that all wears me game theory-wise. I'm not in on Simmons tonight. Probably a super great contrarian play. I can't imagine much ownership being on him tonight.
$7,800 for Ben Simmons is very enticing considering we've seen him on DraftKings get up to near 10K. But do you have a feeling that this Philly team, and obviously to a lesser extent, but is kind of similar to Golden State in terms of DFS, yes, obviously we're not talking about 5 Hall of Famers here. Potentially, there's a lot of potential for that to blossom into something, but there is a lot of mouths to feed, and we've already seen it take the toll on Simmons in the first 2 games, 25 and 21 fantasy points. Do you think that the addition of Harris, impacts him the most? It's a small sample, but there's obviously a sample enough, 25, 21 fantasy points. It's clearly impacting him. So
yeah, I felt that way when they, acquired him. That shots had to go somewhere. They weren't trading Harris to become Wilson Chandler. Right. And take 4 shots a night. They're trading for him to be a guy that is, one of the featured scorers in their offense. And he's coming from taking 20 shots almost, a night pretty much over in the Clippers. And now he's taken 14 and 12 in the 2 games there. But those are more shots that could have gone around. We know Embiid hates seeing his shot totals go down. He kind of hated it when Butler's been on the floor. And I don't think Jimmy Butler's one that really likes sharing the ball either. His shot numbers have also gone down 10 and 9 in the 2 games. So it could be effective. They're just trying to force Harris in the game plan as well. But for those reasons, I'm just not in them, especially under FanDuel, $8,800, just too expensive. So I'm off that. The Celtics are a good defensive player team. Losing Kyrie Irving doesn't hurt their defense any.
Right.
So
right.
I'm not too worried too much about him tonight. If we're going down, you mentioned Trae Young. I like him a lot tonight against the Lakers. Rondo defense isn't what it usually is. This game, I don't think, is on national television, right? So we don't have to worry about, this isn't a Tuesday national TV game. So I'm okay with Trae Young here. Even though the minutes for him have kind of been a little bit interesting. He hasn't played more than 30 minutes now in 4 straight games. Still around 26, 28, but I wonder why all of a sudden he hasn't really eclipsed that 30-minute mark of late. So that's maybe something to bear watching. But no Kyrie Irving, Terry Rozier's on the floor. Price on Rozier's, where it probably should be when Kyrie's out of the lineup. The question now is, do you want to pay for needing 35 fantasy points from Terry Rozier?
So I think the minutes we shouldn't worry about Young anymore now that Jeremy Lin's gone. There's no depth, so I don't think the young minutes. I think Jeremy Lin's gone because they want to develop Trae Young, and I just I'm gonna probably pay 6,700 for Trae Young over 6,900 Terry Rozier in 9 out of 10 lineups. Personally, the matchup is better, the pace is better, and like you said, like you as a Boston fan, game theorying that Boston could get blown out scares me.
Yeah.
So, like, do I think it's a bad play? No, I don't, because we've seen monster outings out of Rozier. I just lean Young at like a similar price tag. I even lean Ricky Rubio at a similar price tag, probably to Rozier too, and in a pretty good matchup himself.
Yeah, Young is $200 more than Rozier on FanDuel. Rubio, I also like, just sort of game stacking. And he's played pretty well of late as well. You get him at 6,300. Would you take Rubio or Rondo at the same price on FanDuel?
I would probably go Rubio. Maybe, having LeBron on the court, you don't need as much Rondo as you may have had. Rubio, and we've always thought like Rubio doesn't fit in Utah as much now with Donovan Mitchell. But, I mean, he's been really good more often than not. He had the one outlier against Houston. But, I mean, in the 5 games surrounding that one game in Houston, he's gone for 28 or more fantasy points, playing 27 or more minutes in almost every game. So I think I'm in on Rubio, plus a nice little up-tempo spot against Golden State. Steph Curry defense scare you? No. And he's averaging 28 fantasy points in the 2 games against Golden State, and he's 5 for 20 from the floor in those 2 games. So if we just get a little better shooting, then, we could be looking at a guy looking 35 to 40 point upside here.
Yeah, I won't argue too much with that. Again, we've seen him do it before. After that, I think it really falls off a cliff. I mean, you have DJ Augustine against New Orleans. Yep. Do it if you want it. Tim Frazier against Orlando. All right, I guess, Patty Mills and Bryn Forbes, again, not really exciting. TJ McConnell, if you want a game theory of blow, maybe he sees some extra run. But it's just pretty much barren here at FanDuel, at least in terms of value at this guard position.
It's DJ Augustine or bust for me at the value tier.
Yeah. I mean, again, we like the game stack idea of Orlando, New Orleans. We think could be a little bit contrarian, and Augustine's coming off 35 against Atlanta. I mean, every point guard is going off against Atlanta, which is kind of why I was in on Rondo a little bit there. Moving on over to shooting guard, Drew Holiday's at the top on FanDuel, 9,500. Donovan Mitchell's at 83. Butler at 82. DDR at 8,100. Thoughts on that group of 4?
I don't know if I want to pay 9,500 for Drew Holiday. 8,500 seems more reasonable. Donovan Mitchell, I think, is fine for tournaments. I think that Utah side could be, contrarian. I think Rubio and Gobert garner a lot of ownership, and probably Jay Crowder too. But I think Mitchell probably falls through the cracks. I think he could be fine. I prefer DDR if Conley plays, because I don't really see that game staying close if Conley doesn't play. And I think Jimmy Butler is an excellent tournament play who no one's going to play at 8,200. 9 out of the last 10 games, he's had 2 or more steals. And he's only 6,800 on DK, which I think he's going to garner a lot of ownership at, considering he's had a good game against Boston. He's had a bunch of good games recently, which makes him more of a tournament play than anything. So I think he'd probably be the way I lean on DraftKings, just because his price is so damn cheap. 6,800 is just too cheap.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a good call there. Where are you on the with Klay Thompson he hasn't played well against Utah. He's been playing really well of late. He also hasn't hit a 3-pointer in 2 games against Utah, which I can't imagine continuing, especially being at home. So, I
mean, it's just one of those things. Like we talk about guys like Terrence Ross or just streaky players. You play them when they're going this well. 29, 25, 26, 28 actual points. He shot 52% or better in all 4. He's made 4 or more threes in all 4. He's contributing elsewhere from game to game as well. I really like him for tournaments. And like I said, I'm much more inclined to play these backcourt players for Golden State than I am in the front court, because I think they have the easier matchups being guarded by Mitchell and Rubio. So
yeah. I agree with you. You mentioned Terrence Ross. Thoughts on him and Fournier? We love attacking New Orleans here with perimeter players. New Orleans is allowing the 4th most fantasy points, I think it was, to small forward. 3rd most fantasy points to small forwards this year. Ross listed as a shooting guard on FanDuel, 75% of his minutes though this year, according to Basketball Reference, at the small forward position. Like you said, gone for 40 plus in 3 of the last 6. This is a guy that you and I like to ride here.
I mean, considering the Magic are going for it right now, they're right in the thick of things for the playoffs. They're going to keep playing Ross as long as he remains hot. I would probably list Ross as a GPP play and Fournier in cash. And I'd probably say Ross, with how well he's played of late, as a secondary cash play as well.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, he's just been really consistent. When he hasn't popped off the last 2 games, he's still given us 25 fantasy points for an average. So, getting you there. Below them, Kevin Huerter against against the Lakers. Lakers allowing, at the time at least, the most fantasy points to the shooting guard position. Still the case here. Still the most fantasy points to the shooting guard position. Interesting matchup here because Reggie Bullock, Atlanta's allowing the second most fantasy points to shooting guard. So Huerter and Bullock going to go back and forth against one another. Bullock played 30 minutes in his debut for the Lakers. Did absolutely nothing in those 30 minutes. Took 5 shots. But he's $3,500 on DraftKings, and you're actually a big fan of his tonight.
Yeah, and he's starting again. No Josh Hart. Another day of practice. I mean, there's been a day in between their last game with Philly. The rotational minutes are there, and this isn't a guy that sucks. Like, yes, he did nothing, but, I kind of said it to you earlier today, like, LeBron and Rondo are both double-digit assist threats. To get those assists, people need to be making shots. Like, LeBron has always kind of had the shooter, J.R. Smith. Dating back to Miami, he had James Jones or Ray Allen. Like, any shooter you can.
Ray Allen?
Well, I mean, he followed LeBron literally everywhere he went.
So did Mike.
Yeah, and so did Mike. There you go. And there's another shooter. And, Reggie Bullock can shoot the 3 ball. I mean, coming into that game, he made 3 or more threes in 3 straight games. So $3,400.
Ooh, Mike Conley officially ruled out.
So let's just quickly talk about that, because I think it's definitely. So I'm interested to see, because DeLon Wright was definitely the key to that trade. Like, it wasn't Valanciunas, it wasn't CJ Miles, it was DeLon Wright. Now, I think DeLon Wright makes play for all formats because, 1, he's the key centerpiece of that trade, so they want to play him.
Yeah.
2, Javon Carter has stunk. 3, even if this game blows out, they want to get right to play minutes because they want him to learn the system faster. And the best way to do that is obviously in game. So I don't know about you, John, and I'm not feeling 22, John, but DeLon Wright, John, is the one for me and you.
I mean, we talked about it as I was sort of like, anguishing. DeLon Wright will start. That's what we figured.
It's lock and load. It's just a lock and load.
Put him in your lineups. Before we jumped on air, we're always building lineups. We're always discussing different builds. And I was stuck in this spot where I'm like, I need my Conley rule out because I have exactly $4,500 left on FanDuel at a shooting guard position. So my prayers were answered there. I'm okay with it. He'll be in my lineups tonight for sure. I think that definitely shores up a lot of things that I'm going to be doing with some lineups tonight. So make sure he gets in yours if you're watching this, which I know you are. Thoughts on Jaylen Brown here? Again, whenever Kyrie Irving's ruled out, Jaylen usually steps up, plays big. He is sort of, I guess, leading the charge of discontent on the younger player side. Unfortunately, if you're in the Boston area like I am, you hear a lot of the chatter. A lot of these guys are like, hey, Kyrie, we went to the Eastern Conference Finals without you. Jaylen Brown was the leading scorer of that team during that frame. So, unfortunately, there's another chance for him to sort of solidify that. So I think Brown could be in a good spot tonight.
I think he is a very good tournament play and a secondary cash play, which he's kind of been every time Kyrie's been out. It's been play him in tournaments, and if you have 5-1 left in your cash game lineup, you could plug him in as well. Like I wouldn't scoff at that, especially with Kyrie out. And he probably gets blowout run too. Honest, not like
usually
full-fledged blowout run, but like deep into the fourth quarter. Like if it does get out of hand, he could see some blowout run there too. So yeah, I like him there.
Yeah, no, he usually is. They allow them usually to play longer minutes when Irving's out, even in blowout run. So I definitely am in on some Jaylen Brown there. Um, I guess going down, like, is there anybody else that maybe interests you? I mean, KCP did play a decent amount of minutes the other day, 27. Again, Atlanta's terrible. Does he have any interest in you with Josh Hart coming out? Like, he can play small forward, he can play shooting guard. He's $3,600 on FanDuel, so he's just $100 above min price.
Yeah, I don't hate it. He's always a guy, if he gets hot, I mean, he can, the Lakers will keep him on the floor, and he'll be the guy to see run. I'm interested to see now, because like DeLon Wright and Avery Bradley kind of split minutes the first game. I guess I'm kind of interested to see how many minutes go Avery Bradley's way now that he's kind of, now that like the minutes from DeLon Wright or Mike Conley have opened up, so I'm not like saying I'm all in on Avery Bradley, but $3,300, like if you're making 100 lineups, throw him in a couple, right? 3,300. He's going to play. He's a guy who was just playing 40 minutes a night. So, I mean, I don't think it'd be the worst play in the world.
No, I agree with you. What do you think about Justin Holiday?
I think he's strong. Now, I guess the issue is how many minutes would he see in a blowout, because they're so depleted and they're so hurt. They have called up Tyler Dorsey. They do have Julian Washburn. They do now have CJ Miles, so I'm kind of worried about Holiday because we've seen his minutes fluctuate since arriving to Memphis.
Okay, that's fair. Any other shooting guards on your radar?
No, I'm ready to move on to small forward.
Alrighty, over at small forward at the top here, Kevin Durant, and I am a big fan of sort of Durant tonight. Well, I guess I like Durant for the late night slate. I don't know how you feel about LeBron versus Atlanta. He was probable going in. He's dealing groins. Like, he only had 39 fantasy points against Philly. Like, he's just more expensive. You're getting, a $2,000 discount almost on Durant. What's your feeling on those top two guys at small forward tonight?
So my reasoning behind LeBron is like, so we saw them get blown out against Indiana by 40. And then the next game, against Boston, who is one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, on national television, 72 fantasy points, triple-double, they win the game. Gets blown out by Philly, now it's question mark against Atlanta in a 238.5 total.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me to see LeBron come out and triple-double, 35 points, saying like, hey, guys, like, every time we lose, do I need to be the one to, pick us up the next game?
Like stuff it in their face a little bit?
Yeah. So that's kind of, and again, Atlanta worst against small forwards. Well, every position. They're the fastest pace, so we're getting LeBron in a track meet, which is obviously his specialty. It's always been his specialty. So I prefer him. And plus, I told you, I prefer the Golden State guards tonight. So, like, I don't hate Durant by any means. 9,100 for one of the best players in the NBA is too cheap. So you could definitely play him. I just lean LeBron even after how much more expensive he is.
Right. Below them on FanDuel, Kenrich Williams is 6,400. They did just announce that Jahlil Okafor is going to play tonight. Does that
He's starting.
Right. Does that bother you at all here at Williams? You had mentioned him as a really good value play on DraftKings. I didn't really want to pay for him on FanDuel. I think I'm not even close to on him now with that news.
I mean, like, we kind of thought the same with Julius Randle, too. Like, no way. Like, and I was one of them. I was totally saying, like, all right, Julius Randle's back, Kenrich Williams, no way.
Mm-hmm.
But then Kenrich Williams, the last two games, and Anthony Davis, too. Anthony Davis is back, Kenrich Williams, he's dead to us.
Yeah.
37 minutes in back-to-back games, 40 and 33 fantasy points. Now, I do agree, Jahlil Okafor is a good rebounder. They have a lot of good rebounders in Davis.
I mean, Williams is starting at small forward, so I mean, like, he's still.
I think he's only viable on DraftKings.
Okay.
Only. Because if he's still going to play 37 minutes, like if that's their starting small forward with Moore out and they're just, kind of bypassing Darius Miller, then I don't see why not. Like 37 minutes. Maybe who knows when they're going to limit Anthony Davis on a night-to-night basis.
He played 25 minutes in that first game back, AD, so you never know.
At home, after getting showered with booze all night. So, like,
right.
Who knows if that happens again, Like, he just gets booed and they're like, well, we're we played him, so the league can't fine us. He got 25 minutes.
Right.
So I think he's fine, but exclusively DraftKings play.
Yep, that's fine. I definitely like it. What's his DraftKings price again?
$4,900.
Yeah, that's a good buy. Jonathan Isaac, you and I just keep on. I mean, eventually, you live down there. I don't know why you don't have a Jonathan Isaac jersey yet. The price tag continues to rise on the kid. I mean, 41 fantasy points against Atlanta because everybody can score in Atlanta. Just everybody can do it. But even then, the production's been there for him. Again, we like these wing players against New Orleans. He has the size. I mean, we talk about it all the time. He's 7 feet tall at small forward. So, I mean, I just think this is another good spot for him. New Orleans is really bad against wing players. $6,400, same price on FanDuel as Williams. I'd much rather play Isaac, I think. Isaac over on DraftKings is $5,100, so how are your feelings on him?
I mean, it's only a matter of time when he starts getting fourth quarter run because he plays and then they take him out in favor of Terrence Ross, that he is like a 7K, like 6.5 to 7K on both sites. I mean, he's just too cheap on DK. And if he's going to give us 2 to 5 blocks every night, which he's done in 6 straight games, I mean, he's going to play on FanDuel. He got 15 points on just blocks. 15! Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I have no problem in John Isaac, and I would honestly consider him for all formats tonight. Wow, based on matchup, I mean, it doesn't really get better than Pelicans Wings. I would honestly consider him all formats. I would just really love to see him play into 30s and play fourth quarter run. That's my only the only downfall with Isaac right now.
Okay. Below them, I mean, we have Brandon Ingram on FanDuel at 6,200. Rudy Gay is going to be active tonight. He's 5,900 against Memphis. JJ Redick has been the one that's been the best player of the whole group. 39 and 36 fantasy points in 2 games since coming back. Again, the 36 fantasy points against the Lakers shouldn't shock you because they're the worst team in the NBA against shooting guards. I know he's a small forward on FanDuel, but they just don't stop that position, which is kind of why I'm on Herter tonight. But, what's your thoughts on that group? I mean, Joe Ingles is averaging 40 fantasy points in 2 games against Golden State, too, so throw him in the mix.
Redick's fine. I would probably limit my exposure to Gay for tournaments only just because, I don't know how close that game stays with Conley out. Ingles is fine. He's been kind of up and down lately. Yeah. I think Gordon Hayward, no Kyrie. I know, John, but we did this against Cleveland, and you know what? He put up 36 fantasy points. And it's just really becoming exclusively when Kyrie's out because then they take Rozier off the floor and he's the second unit playmaker. Like he's just the second unit playmaker. It just it is what it is. Like he just, as bad as he's been, he is their second unit playmaker, and there's been signs of life lately as well. 2 of the last 3, 18 or more actual points. So
no, I know. I want it to happen. Want him.
I mean, you paid him the max contract to be the all-star that you got him as, obviously, and that's what's I think the most frustrating part for you is that
he just gets it. He knows.
That Laney, that's Laney. Laney gets it. Yeah, I know. Laney makes a appearance. But I just he's been good with Kyrie off the floor. It's over a fantasy point per minute. So, do I love it? No, but I think for tournaments, everyone's gonna flock to the they're gonna flock to Rozier. They're gonna flock to Jaylen Brown. And I think Hayward at $4,700 is the guy who's...
I like him more on DraftKings, right? He's 53 on FanDuel. Obviously, it's not like a huge price gap between the two, but I feel a little bit more comfortable because I want to play Jay Crowder at 4,500. Right. Royce O'Neal is like 3,500 on DraftKings, $4,600 on FanDuel. The last 3 games for him, 23, 26, and 25 minutes. Off the bench, 24, 28, and 22 minutes. Fantasy points. What are your thoughts on O'Neal and Crowder here? Crowder averaging 30 minutes a game, 38 fantasy points against Golden State. And, of course, he was part of the Celtics teams that gave Golden State all that trouble. He defends the perimeter well. So I was already very much in on Crowder, but I was surprised to see O'Neal finally, again, make a reappearance where we have to consider him.
I mean, I think they make sense, both of them, because the Golden State's going to play so much small ball. I mean, even when Cousins has played, but he hasn't been finishing games. So it's like they play their death lineup down the stretch. So we could see Crowder on the floor more. If you had to pick one, like if you were leaning one, 4,500 Crowder or $3,400 Royce O'Neal who's playing just as many minutes, who would you pick? Or do you just avoid the situation? Is it just a situation that we just avoid?
So I don't know how much run Favors gets if Green is ruled out, because I feel like if Draymond is out, then they go more athletic players. Maybe they go Iguodala, maybe they go Jerebko, and Crowder I think is a better matchup for them. I want to go Crowder though. I've just sort of sold myself a little bit in on him tonight, and I understand the discount. On DraftKings, you're probably just playing both, to be honest with you, your game stacking. But I just feel like Crowder is just in a better position to be productive here.
I mean, I'd rather play Crowder. I feel more comfortable, like secure. But not taking risks sometimes, costs us the money. So I just a thought. I think they're both in play, but I do prefer Crowder slightly as well.
All right. Any other small forwards that are jumping off to you?
Nope. Ready to go on to power forward.
All right. Over at power forward at the top, Anthony Davis against Orlando. Again, guys gone for 50 fantasy points in back-to-back games. I can't really pay for him on FanDuel at 12.5, knowing that there's a chance that he's limited, or the fact that he's only going for 50 fantasy points. He's not playing 38 minutes anymore. He's playing 32 in the 33 or whatever it is. So I'm not playing him. Again, as we always say, I'm never going to not tell you to play Anthony Davis in your lineups. And he's cheaper than LeBron over on DraftKings, so there's a case maybe to pivot off LeBron over on DraftKings. But 12.5 on FanDuel, I think I'd rather take my chances at Durant at 9.9 getting 50, or LeBron at 11.2, cheaper than Davis going for more fantasy production. So I'm not playing Anthony Davis tonight, but if your lineup builds lead you to that, no one's going to blink.
Yeah, I guess like power forward is deeper than like small forward too. After Durant and LeBron, it gets a little bleak. So there's better plays down here at power forward I don't know. I don't want to play Anthony Davis either. Obviously there's a case. I mean, he put up 50 fantasy points in 25 minutes in his first game back. So you can do it, but I'm with you, John. Like you don't need to do it.
Below them, LaMarcus Aldridge, Julius Randle, John Collins, Tatum. There's actually a pretty good group of power forwards here. Kyle Kuzma. What are your thoughts on this next tier down?
Aldridge for tournaments, considering that game, I don't know if it stays close. Collins for tournaments too, but I think that game is the most stackable game, probably garners the most ownership as well. So you could definitely go back to Collins there. Randall is fine. A few more minutes to be taken, though, with Jahlil Okafor playing. So I don't think we necessarily need to do it.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon, I think, is too cheap. I think Jason Tate.
You're really in on Aaron Gordon, and he just, every time I try to play him, he just burns me every time.
The minutes are a little concerning. I will say that. It was a 20-point win against Milwaukee, so 29 minutes, whatever. But in a pretty competitive game, 16-point win against Atlanta, he only played 26, and that's scary. But the guy has 50-point upside, and he's 6'4". That's the only reason I'm in on Aaron Gordon. Yeah. Plus, we mentioned the Pelicans suck defensively. They just suck. So it's a pace-up spot where for an athletic freak to get out in the open court and run and to get more possessions and possibly matched up against Kenrich Williams, who's only 6'7", and possibly matched up against, Julius Randle, it's not very great defensively at times. So it's that's why I have interest in Aaron Gordon. Not because I'm wow, he's been great lately or whatever, because he hasn't. The minutes have been down too. It's just, he has 50-point upside at a cheap price tag and a good matchup. Does
your feeling on LeBron take you off Kuzma?
No, because, they mesh pretty well. Recently. They got blown out, but 25 and 39 actual points the last two games. And we saw during that stretch earlier in the year when Kuzma was going nuts, LeBron was there. That was when LeBron was healthy. So I think they're fine. LeBron's always had a Robin. So it's not Dwayne Wade's been there, Chris Bosh. There's always been a guy with LeBron. So do I think he can do it all by himself? Sure. But I think he does need help, and I think Kuzma is that help. $6,000 is so cheap considering he's facing the Atlanta Hawks tonight.
Yeah, I agree. What's your take on the Memphis situation, knowing Valanciunas is going to make his debut? Expected to, at least.
I mean, Valanciunas might play 7 minutes, 10 minutes. He hasn't played a game in 2 months. He hasn't even practiced with the team. So it's like Jaren Jackson's going to – he already said Ivan Rabb's going to start for the time being. So I think they're both fine. I mean, they're both averaging over 30 fantasy points. The only reason Jackson had a bad game or a kind of bad game is because he got in 2 early fouls that put him on the bench, and he never got back in a rhythm. He didn't pick up another foul after that, but – 2 early fouls can derail a game, which is obviously possible with Jackson. But because their depth, I think, or lack of depth, I think they're both fine.
Okay.
Tournaments only because obviously this could be a 30-point game quick.
What do you did you mention what you thought about Aldridge? Did you talk about that already?
I did. Tournaments only.
Tournaments only. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you. I thought I heard you say that. I wasn't sure if you expanded any at all because I was with Rudy Gay back. Who knows how that sort of fits everything there because usually it pushes or has in the past pushed Aldridge to center to start. So, Favors, thoughts on him tonight?
I'm not going to go there, but I'd rather play Marcus Morris at 5K, who has the highest usage rate on the team with Kyrie Irving off the floor, and I mean he's been pretty damn good outside of the game against the Lakers, 28 or more fantasy points in five of the 6. So I like Marcus Morris a lot over Favors.
Okay. Marcus Morris, you said. Now we have word that Robert Williams, Time Lord, is game time, decision time. If he doesn't play, I liked already the idea of maybe playing Daniel Tice in sort of a game theory thinking there's a blood. But if we're back to, Al Horford not having a backup center, I think Tice is definitely someone we can take a look at. He stretches the floor. I think if there's going to be a blowout run, he's going to be one to get it. So $4,000 on FanDuel, I'm in on Tice, I think.
Fine for a tournament. I don't have a lot of interest, but I get because he's the backup to both power forward and center. So
yeah, Mike Scott would be the guy that probably ends up defending him, and I think that's probably a matchup for him. Let's jump on over to center. Joel Embiid at the top. Interest on him tonight against Al Horford, Celtics.
I mean, he hasn't really taken a hit either. 37 and 14 against the Lakers, and not that it's a horrible, not a hard matchup, but 33 shots the last 2 games. I don't think he's taken much of a hit. I think 10-2 is a really enticing price tag. I will say that. Not that I love the matchup against Horford, but 52 fantasy points against him in 2 meetings. And he's only 10-2. I know he's way too expensive on FanDuel because FanDuel loves Joel Embiid more than anything. It's like he's always near 12K, no matter the situation. And I get it because he gives us blocks, he gives us steals. But I think 10-2 is really intriguing for tournaments because I really do think LeBron gets a lot of the ownership on DraftKings because he's only 10-5. And I think a lot of people forget about Embiid here, and I think that would be a casualty type. Like, you want to get him in tournaments.
We didn't touch upon it, but Etuan Moore is actually now starting in place of Frank Jackson. Does that move the needle for you at all? No.
No.
Okay.
I want to stay so far away from that Pelicans rotation of guards like Jackson, Frazier. I promise you, I'll win more money than those guys. Whoever plays those 3, like the little trio, I promise you, I'll win more money than them tonight.
I'm really trying to get Rudy Gobert in my lineups tonight. Hasn't happened yet. Might be able to rework it on FanDuel. What are your thoughts on him against Golden State, Vucevic against New Orleans, at next tier below Embiid?
I mean, I think Vuk is another guy that goes overlooked. I think a lot of the ownership does go to Gobert, especially considering he's $1,300 cheaper on DraftKings. I think Gobert is a really good play. Do I think he just matches up well. Cousins doesn't scare me defensively, and Gobert's been better offensively lately, which has been a really, really nice sight to see. Yeah. 15 or more points in 7 of his last 8 games, and we know the rebounding block upside's there. So I think Gobert is a really strong play. Vuk is, I think, an underrated play again. I'm just in on the Magic totally from their side. We know Anthony Davis can be good defensively, but I'm not worried. But Vuk now gets Jahlil Okafor, technically, right? He's going to start the game against Jahlil Okafor.
Yeah, right. They're gonna have Anthony Davis play power forward. Finally, he's been listed as a power forward all season long, but he's played 98% of his minutes at center. Yeah, so that's a good point there. Next group below, we have Horford, Cousins, and JaVale McGee. Tyson Chandler's out. Mike Muscala is gonna be active. How does that impact your McGee ownerships, and what are your thoughts on Al Horford and Cousins?
So I'm happy that both Muscala and Chandler are not playing. The needle hasn't moved for me on McGee. Then I'm still going to play him. 4,800 is too cheap on DraftKings. I still think he plays about 25 minutes. I do think Muscala could take a few minutes, but we're also looking for McGee to get like 22 minutes. Honestly, at 4,800, if he gets 22 minutes, probably gets us 30 fantasy points because that's just the type of player McGee. He's the second leading fantasy point per minute guy in the Lakers this year. Think about that. Guy in front of Kuzma, Ingram, only behind LeBron. So, I mean, just give McGee the minutes. I think he's fine. I think Horford's fine. Don't, love him. Don't hate him. He's been fine with Kyrie off the floor. He's second in fantasy point per minutes. I'm weirdly interested in Boogie because I know Kirk came out and said the whole thing about 25 minutes. But if there's no Draymond, I could see him playing. Because we've heard coaches lie before. We also heard Alvin Gentry tell us, I remember the live stream vividly where he told us he's going to monitor Drew Holiday and Anthony Davis minutes, and then they both played over 40 that same night. NBA coaches are stretch the truth sometimes, and if there's no Draymond, I could see Boogie playing 30 minutes. If that, at $6,200, I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, fair enough. That's probably it though for me. It's center. You can go down to Kevin Looney. You can go down if you want. Maybe just Kevin Looney. I don't like anybody else really below them at center on FanDuel at least. If we're punting the position, Okafor, Len, I don't know. I'm just not feeling to spend down at center.
Don't play Jonas Valanciunas, please. That's all I ask. Unfortunately, we can't play Joakim Noah anymore. So, right. I'm kind of with you. Alex Len. But
on FanDuel, you can throw Mike Muscala in there. $3,500, just a total min-price punt. He's active. They don't like playing McGee 30 minutes. Maybe he gets in there and plays 20-ish minutes against revenge narrative Atlanta team. So maybe there's some interest in Muscala, but just as a pure punt. So.
As a pure punt, fine.
Yeah. That's it for the last stream, guys. The roster's locked again at 7:30 tonight. So we have that extra time. Don't freak out. We do have lineups posted already. Going to be making some pivots to make sure Dylan Wright gets in those lineups. All those lineups will probably end up being the primary lineups tonight. So just be on the lookout. If you played the optimal lineups that are already posted, changes are coming. James and I will be in subscriber chat answering any questions at the roster lock tonight. Tweet at us if you want. We'll answer those questions as well. Good luck, everybody.